Hello, welcome to Get Your Mind On. I'm Lori Stohs. So for the past few weeks, we've talked about the total focus model for individuals, being able to bring your talent, your skills, knowledge, experience to a company. Today, we're really going to focus on, from a company's perspective, from you as maybe a leader, a hiring manager, or a manager bringing people in, thinking about how do I look at this model and think about using that for our opportunities to think about, do we have the right person in the right role? You know, hiring is not everybody's love. Maybe you love to interview people, but finding the right fit for the right role sometimes takes a little bit of time. Depends on what role it is and what market you're in. But we really need to make sure that we're looking fully and properly to getting the right person the right job. As HR leaders, as managers and leaders of companies, we need to really think about our responsibility. These are human beings that we're bringing into our workplace, and we really need to give that the proper amount of time and energy to make sure it's a right fit for them and right fit for us. As I say, these are people's lives. We can't just move people around like chess pieces. So we really have to take the time to go through that process. And so I know many of you have processes, but I find that using the same total focus model on our side when we're hiring individuals and looking at people for promotions is really, really helpful. So, you know, when we look at maybe signing $1 million contract in a company, I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, is we take some time deliberating on that investment. To me, selecting a person is no different. We need to take time doing that. If I'm hiring a $100,000 person, I look at my investment, that's like an 8 to 10 year investment. I expect them to be with me a long time. So it's just as long as an investment. But isn't it funny how we don't take as much time interviewing people in those roles for a long-term decision? So I just want you to really think about that a little differently when you're hiring people, saying, are we spending enough time with that person? A couple hours for that investment isn't enough. And yes, we have the opportunity to let people go if they're not working, as many of us have those clauses or rules in our states that we can do that. But at the end of the day, is that really what we want to do? Because these are people's lives. It disrupts the workplace, the flow of work. I think all of our intention is when we hire somebody, we look to them to be here for a long time. So let's look at that total focus model. When we look at the talent, okay, looking again at that talent, how are you selecting individuals based off their talent? Now you may say, well, I don't know. We look at their resumes. If we feel that they're a good fit for us and they have the experience we need, we're in. And we meet them. We have good conversations. They're really good people. We spend 3 hours with them and we hire them. Well, I want you to look a little different at that. First, you need to step back. First, you have to step back and really get clear on what you want that role to be. If I asked you, if you bring somebody into that role, think about the best person that you had in that role before. Who would you want 5 more of? And define that role clearly and say, these are the talents, this is the individual that we're seeking. I will guarantee you, I've done this with many people over and over and over again in companies when I define what we're looking for, how much knowledge they need to have, what degrees, how much experience. When we define all that on a whiteboard, 90% or more of it is around talent. All the time. I want the organized person. I want someone who is a great relationship builder. I want somebody who can be analytical. I want somebody who is a problem solver. I want somebody who does those things. Those things aren't things that you can discover from a resume on experience. Maybe you could pick some of that up on an interview, but you really have to understand, do they have the right talent consistently? Remember, consistent patterns of behavior, productively applied. So are they doing that over and over and over again, not just part-time? We cannot get world-class if we only have part-time talent. So we have to think about, how are we looking at people's talent? Sometimes it's behavioral interviews, but really I'll tell you, and you know too, people have to have talent to do behavioral interviewing. It's not something you can teach them, but the best ones really know how to listen for what the behaviors they're listening for. So talent is essential. Excuse me. So make sure you're thinking about the talent piece. And make sure then when you're looking at talent, you look at that. Then you look at the skills and knowledge and experience that they bring. Obviously, you have to think about what can be taught. You can't teach talent. I can't teach somebody to be analytical. I can't teach somebody to be empathetic. I can't teach somebody to be strategic. Can I teach them some skills? I can. But to the level in which they'll perform at a high world-class level, that's where we need to go to the level of using their talents. So really understanding what you're looking for up front, and then when you're looking at your candidates, knowing what's my criteria, and knowing, are we being able to tap into that talent? I think that's really, really critical. Then when you look at the fit, I think we need to think about fit. So let's say you now have narrowed down your candidates to 3 top candidates and you bring them in. I really think the fit piece is also critical for us to define as employers and managers of what is a fit for us. So when we think about a fit for the role, obviously we have to define, here's the role, here's the person, how do they align? So going back to that whiteboarding I told you about earlier, look at that and say, does this person fit that criteria we're looking for? Now, we all know we have a long list of things that we want. We can't always find a person who has everything that we want, but we have to be able to say, I'm willing to give of this and this. What is the critical wants and needs that we need? There's that wants and needs, and some things we just critically need to be successful in the role. So you have to kind of determine that. Second is, who's a fit for you? You have to look to say, this person, I have 3 candidates, they're all really good, they have equal levels of things that I need, then who is going to be best with me? And some people think, well, that's kind of interesting. Well, you know what, I have a manager right now who just doesn't really like one of their direct reports. And it's just that they don't have a connection, they don't see eye to eye. And so how much time is she really investing in him? Not a lot, right? And so if that's the way you feel, obviously when you might think, well, that's crazy, I'd bring on somebody that I like. Well, sometimes we really have to step back and say, what is it about that relationship? Do I feel like I can spend time with them and I want to invest in them and I see us having a good relationship moving forward? Maybe that person needs a lot of stroking. They might have a good ego, and that's not something you feel like you can do because you think everybody just needs to get to work and get the work done. Then it's probably not a fit for you. Even if your HR partner brought it to you and they said, oh, it's your top candidate. You know what? You have to decide on that. So that's something to think about. The next thing is, are they a fit for the company? You really have to see if what their expectations of a company outline to yours. So let's say I had a company the other day that we were just talking. They're a lot more entrepreneurial. And so they kind of give people an opportunity to come in and kind of figure things out. They have some guidance for them, but they want people to really kind of be creative and figure out on their own. If I brought somebody into that company who was very structured and rigid and needed a book and a guide and their hand held through the process, that's probably not a good fit for us from a company perspective. So we need to think about that. Then we also have the fit for the team. So I always think it's great to have those questions with those people you're interviewing about what are they looking for in a team, what does team mean to them, how do they collaborate, all those types of things, because you all know we've had one person that in the dynamics of a team that have either made that team work or not work. Most of the time when we pull that person out, it changes the whole dynamics. So we have to step back and say, how will this one person, even if they have a very specific role, contribute to that team, or maybe make it be a distraction to that team from the collaboration and the connections that they have. So that's a lot to think about. So when we think about that fit piece, remember, fit for the role, fit for you as a manager, fit for the company, and fit for the team. Selecting people is challenging. And so when we look at that whole process, I really want you to take a step back this week. And for positive charge, think about, how are you going through your process? Number 1, are you defining clearly what you're looking for? And number 2, do you have a criteria to align what you're looking for to the outcomes that you're seeking through that interview process? People are important. We're all in roles. We have to really take the time to make the right decisions, okay? It's our responsibility as we bring people into organizations. It's not fair. They're showing up and they're doing the best that they can bring, but we're the ones that help make the decisions on, is this the right place for them? Is this the right company for them? And is this the right future for them? So think about that, as you would want the same thing for you as we bring in people into the company. Thanks for joining us, and remember to get your mind on.